certain hadith which requires qualification. We the groups or prophets of God, we do not inherit our parents and ancestors, nor do we need property to be inherited by our children. The Quran is full of inheritance and the Warasa Solomon Dawuda.
That is inheritance which has been mentioned by Muslim. In fact, this hadith forestalls the dangers which befell early Islam after the Prophet ﷺ. The question of inheritance was raised in a very different way. That property of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa ﷺ, which he had in the capacity of the Prophet, which was not his personal property, because all his personal property he had already given away to the poor. Even that which was gifted to him by Hazrat Khadija was very soon after this given over, distributed to the poor. So whatever he received from Allah, part of it was his in a way. I mean, it was, the Holy Quran says it very clearly that it is his personal property. But the major part belonged to the state, Islamic State. So there too it was his habit that whatever he received personally he would not keep. After giving a portion to the royals, the rest he would distribute. So that was his personal habit. When he died, there was no question of his leaving any property to distribute it as inheritance. So that was the real state of affairs. If you take or consider inheritance in the material terms. But this was not the main problem. The main problem was the inheritance of his spiritual office. So this tradition mainly deals with that. There are two issues. I want to discuss both because when you debate this issue with Shia, you should understand what actually happened. And this tradition which you have mentioned has a direct bearing on that. The Shias believe that Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam left both spiritual property and material property to be inherited by his offspring. And by the offsprings they meant Hazrat Ali radiyallahu ta'ala and Hazrat Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala. As far as Hazrat Fatima is concerned, they think, this is their belief, that Hazrat Fatima in fact inherited the material property, not the spiritual. So Bagh, Fidak and all these things went to Hazrat Fatima in fact, and she was the proprietor of all the material property which he had left according to them, while in reality he had not. The only property he left was spiritual property, and that was controlled by this hadith, that the prophethood, the office which they hold, that all the prophets hold, that office is not inherited by blood relations. That system of inheritance is completely different. That is what he has pointed out. So they thought Hazrat Ali inherited his office, and he was the natural heir apparent after his death. So this hadith tells us that the holy prophets of Islam, not only Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they don't leave any spiritual property to their direct bloodline, but it is inherited through a different rule altogether. Now the verse you are quoting, and you want me to reconcile this tradition with that verse, Varasahu, Sulaiman, and there's so many other references of holy children or holy fathers having inherited them spiritually. Now that inheritance is controlled by a rule and a principle laid down by the Holy Quran very clearly by way of a conversation which passed between Hazrat Ibrahim and Rasul Allah Ta'ala. Hazrat Ibrahim prayed to Allah that you have given me so much. I want my children also to inherit this, to be on the same line, to be remain recipients of your favors. In answer, Allah only said, La yanalu ahdul zalimin, which means a new phenomena of controlling spiritual property has been declared by the Holy Quran, which shows that this is not an automatic inheritance. Those of the bloodline who would be pious and righteous, they would be favored by Allah, and they may also become spiritual inheritors. But they may. It's not a positive rule that they automatically become. But those among them who are counted among Zalimeen, they will be deprived of all right of inheritance whatsoever. So this is one explanation of those verses relating to the inheritance of earlier people. Secondly, this comparison shows us that if Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not leave any personal property, it did not mean that it was a must and this should be made a rule. Because if it were to be made a rule, then in the Holy Quran there shouldn't have been any law of inheritance at all. If that tradition of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam should have been taken as a must for everybody, then there was no room for any law of inheritance in the Holy Quran. Number one. Number two, this reference to the early prophets, their leaving some, let's say property, again, but I mean both spiritual and material, to their offsprings. There, the Hazrat Sulaiman inherited both spiritual and physical legacy of Hazrat Dawud. In both respects, he was the inheritor, successor of Hazrat Dawud. So that shows that when Ahmad says, Nano Masharul Anbiya La Nur Miraso La Nuraso, he is talking only of spiritual property. That is very clear now, because otherwise this cannot be reconciled with other verses of the Holy Quran, in which it is found that Hazrat Sulaiman and some others inherited their pious forefathers both in material terms and in spiritual terms. But Hazrat says we don't leave anything to be inherited, while previously physical properties were also left and the spiritual properties were also left. But physical properties went to the offsprings whether they were pious or not. The spiritual went to the offsprings only on their own merit, not by a law of inheritance directly. So that is what he points out, that the prophets neither they received the office of prophethood by way of legacy from any father or forefathers, nor their children or offsprings would inherit such legacies by way of an automatic law or regulation.